Hi, welcome to Marriage Matters. I'm Dr. Mark.
And I'm Liz, and we're your marriage and communication coaches, here to inspire you, instill hope, and empower you to weather the challenges of married life. And today, we have the fortune of having Jamie Sabatini with us. She is a personal and professional development coach, as well as a colleague and a friend. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Jamie, can you tell our audience a little bit about what you do, who you work with, and how you empower people and move their lives forward?
Yes, absolutely. So, first and foremost, family is the most important thing to me. So I wouldn't list any of the things that I do professionally until I list my personal love, which is my family. So that's what I do first, is the domestic part of me. Following that is the professional side of me, where I kind of wear a few different hats. And one is with being a personal and professional development coach. And I help people who are frustrated with where they've landed in life, and they know they need some help making a change. And we work real closely together, work with entrepreneurs, men, moms. I work with young adults, and we really anchor down and we create their mission statement, their personal mission statement. And they're coming to me from a professional standpoint, we'll create a professional mission statement and we'll merge the two together. So this way they have like the foundation of the house for themselves. From there, we'll identify their goals, their strengths, and their gifts, and then we'll start working through whatever it is that's been getting in their way of reaching those, right? And set up accountability and processes that work for them. My second hat is in the area of working with youth and young adults and adolescents with their behaviors. And I have certification as a behavioral assistant. And what I do there is I help them to understand their core operating system, right? How they operate. Because how we operate sometimes is judged as being, needing to be fixed or a bad thing, but that's not so. There's gifts in there, right? And there's opportunity. And when we understand the process, we can pull out our functional strengths and we can apply them to every day, and we can operate functionally within our environment and be very successful. Last but not least, and very much enjoyable, is the work that I do with youth and parents and mentoring them. Somehow, I've gotten to this point in my life, I have no idea how, that I am able to mentor people because I've been there, done that. And really, truly, I just help them work through their day-to-day challenges, so this way they can keep moving forward and get to my place at sometime in their life.
With success.
With success and ease.
Yes. That is absolutely beautiful. One of the things that is really important in life is to pursue your bliss, your joy. And it's clear as you went through that your joy is your family. It is the thing that you love to nurture and be nurtured from. And I'm really just so impressed in the way and elegantly stated that you are taking your bliss and joy in your personal life and looking to give it to others. And that is absolutely wonderful. What are some of the things that you feel when you happen to have that family? Those parents come together, that family that moves in a better way because of what you brought to them. How does that feel to you?
It is so rewarding. And I'm so proud of them because, life's not easy. It's not easy. However, life's meant to be enjoyed. And so often we get caught up in what's going wrong, right? And the grass is greener on the other side, right? And we're always looking to get to the other side. And we forget about the joys and the gifts of now. And when you see someone, like when I start working with, let's say, a young adult, and, we start off and they're not even getting out of their bed, right? And then 6 months later, they're dressed for an interview and they're smiling for the picture. And the process, like the confidence that they built and the belief in themselves and the success, they say, I want to be successful. And when you remind them, you're living your success right now. You don't need to wait for it. It's happening. Let's realize that they just light up. And for me, that's, don't don't tell anybody. I don't even need a paycheck. That's my reward.
Don't tell anybody.
Like, that's my reward, is
Yes.
just to see the heart smiling. Like, I feel it.
And help them be aware that they're already on that road. We had a client, same thing, that they asked us, well, when am I going to be, you're talking about the fork in the road and which one do you take, and when am I going to be on the path? No, you picked the path, you're on it. And you're right, that is incredibly rewarding. And those clients are so lucky to have you to be able to guide them to get them there, Jamie.
You know, one of the things you said that was really important, and we had a guest on a couple of episodes ago who's a good friend of ours from Colorado. His name is Brian Gary, and he calls himself the happiness warrior. And he said, everyone looks and they say, oh, the grass is greener on that side of the fence. He says, that's because you haven't been over there and put all your stuff there that turns it brown. A lot of it is what we bring. And yes, it might be greener, but we can bring green to our side of the fence by changing that mindset and by understanding what's that passion. Families have challenges, and connections between parents and the next generation, children, between grandparents and grandchildren, can get strained, and they can grow weaker. They can get some distance set between them. It can become argumentative, or worse yet, it can just completely break down. Why might those events happen? What happens to those connections?
Yeah, well, so I guess there's three different ways that I want to answer that. So as humans, right, we're programmed to look for what's going wrong, because we want, if you go to animal instincts, predator versus prey, like, we're looking for what's going wrong, so this way we can protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe, right? So often in our relationships, because that's inbred in us, we operate like that. We operate from fear, right? What will people think? What will people say? How will I be perceived? Will I be accepted? Will I be loved? Like, all these fear, doubt, questions. And we want to feel better. So we go into fix-it mode, right? We do that with ourselves, but we do that with the people we love, especially because we want them to be safe. We want them to be happy. We want to see their heart smiling, right? And we'll pretty much do anything to have that happen. So if we know we're going to fix, we're going to fix. But what happens is when we fix, we forget to listen. We forget to look for what's underneath, because all of our behaviors, whether you're a child or a young adult or our age, adults, older, our behaviors are for a reason, right? So we forget to look at why that's happening, and we react to fix. So that could cause a disconnection, because then we're operating on our own reasons and not the other person's reasons for behaving that way. Another reason is that sometimes we don't understand our own processing, our own operating system, let alone someone else's operating system. So what do? We default to what is familiar to us, what we see, social examples, right? And we operate from there, which there might be some truth in there, but there's a whole bunch of creation that's happening, right? Expectations that are being created. And we don't meet people where they are. So the connection gets weakened, right? We don't understand where someone is in their process. We don't even understand where we are in our process. And boom, we're coming into fix, right? We skip over some of these pieces. And then people don't feel understood. They don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. And a whole list of symptoms and problems that we all complain about all day long, what we think is the problem is really not the problem, right? So those are just some ideas of why that connection might get strained. And lastly, really, was anybody really taught how to be a parent, right? How to be a kid, how to be in relationship with each other, some people have taken some communication 101 classes, but let's get into real life now, right? When your buttons are getting pressed and fear comes in, right? So the how. And what I like to say it is, what would it be like if you were powered by what's going well versus the fear and what's going wrong? So that is a huge, huge space where the connection can weaken, get strained, get argumentative based on what you're looking at and what you're focusing on.
So before the show, we were talking about, you had done a survey about what is the parent's most significant challenge when trying to connect to their kids. Can you share with everybody what that was?
Yeah. So, the research question was actually, what are your top 3 challenges as a parent right now? And I got an overwhelming response from that, and it was very diversified. And I will tell you that it was loaded with a bunch of symptoms, right? A bunch of problems, right? My kid, respect, listening to me, lying, sibling rivalry, like all these outcomes, right? And there were a few, but one of the root causes from all of these symptoms was so simple. It was listening. Listening. And we go back to, like, were you taught? Like, did you ever take a class that was how to listen? Now, I don't think that's in the curriculum, right?
They should have it. They definitely
I don't think
should have
that's in the curriculum. It was listening.
That is really,
Well,
really
we know that
critical.
too. I mean, that's something that we work on with couples. It's people don't listen. We listen to respond. We don't listen, to really understand.
It's amazing. George Bernard Shaw, the very famous author, put it well, and I'm going to paraphrase. He said that the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it is actually taking place. We think we communicate and we don't, and that is really important.
Yeah. So, knowing this, how can parents improve the connection with their children?
Yes. So first and foremost, before you can make, any type of change, we're a species of fixers, right? So anyone who this is resonating with, they're immediately going to say, oh, okay, what am I going to do? Let me get a book. Let me get a method, right?
That's right.
What program can I follow? And there's a million out there, and all very valuable and respectful, and grab the book, right? However, before you can do anything, we got to sit back and we have to observe. What's going on, right? What's going on in my life? What type of outcomes am I experiencing? What's happening with the people in my life, right? Observe, see what's happening, okay? That's it. It's very simple, right? We overcomplicate things in life quite a bit, and really the most simple things are where the answers are. So step 2, I would say, is once you've observed, start evaluating. Start saying, okay, so what are my choices here, right? And from there, pick one. Pick a choice. Try it. Give it a try. See what happens. If that one resonates well, and you're feeling the energy change between you and the person you're engaging with, stay with it. But you know what? People are not stagnant, right? People change. Environments change. Guess what? You rinse and repeat, right?
Love it.
Do it again.
Always.
Repeat. And that is a very simple formula you can apply to so many things.
It really is critical, and that rinse and repeat when it works, and when it doesn't, step back and reevaluate. We're going to take a few moments for a commercial break, and we will be right back with some more discussion with Jamie Sabatini of Coach-tastic and how to communicate and do better in your family.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hi, and welcome back to Marriage Matters. Here today with us is Coach Jamie of Coach-tastic, and she is talking to us about family and connection and how to be a better parent to connect with your kids better.
So that actually brings up a question, and it may seem so basic, but why is it so important to have a good connection with your children?
Yes, I had a feeling you were going to ask that. So I did reflect a bit before today, and it's funny, that is such a basic question, but yet I couldn't put words around it. I was brainstorming. I said, why can't I put words around this? So I thought about it a little bit more, and I really believe that that answer is personal, right? Like, my reason why and your reason why is going to be very different. So I'm going to answer that a little bit more broadly, and in kind of three different perspectives. And I want to assimilate it to a plant, right? Mm-hmm. So a plant has roots. Now let's imagine if the connection between the roots and the plant got cut. What would happen to the plant? Okay. Now, we could sustain some viability. We can cut the flowers, and we could put them in a pretty vase, and we could put water, and put some whatever that stuff's in the bag, right? Yeah. The chemicals that are in the bag,
food,
right?
Plant food.
The plant food, the nutrition, nutrition. Thank you. And put in there, and we can get some smiles out of those flowers for 2, 3, 4 days, right? If you're lucky, it lasts a week. And then what happens?
They wither.
And die.
They separate, they disconnect, right? They don't have that vitality anymore. Same thing with birds. On the way here, I saw like a massive flock, there had to be 1,000 birds flying, and it didn't matter what direction they went in, they were all together. Mm-hmm. Why? Right? So if we look back to nature, I think we can find some of the answers in the root of why we need connection, right? From a human standpoint, it's our responsibility, right, as parents. I mean, let's just look at it hardcore. It is our responsibility as parents to have a connection with our children, to be there for them, to root them and provide them with basic needs like love and acceptance and safety and a place of peace, right? I mean, let's face it, how many little kids, we've all done it, where you're like, mommy, look, look at what I created. Look at my painting, right? Now, they just want to be accepted. They want to be seen.
Knowledge.
It's right. They're gaining confidence. They're gaining so much from mommy, look, right? And we have a responsibility to look at that picture, but not just look as we walk by, to stop and to look, because that connection is developmental. It starts from when we out of the womb. We don't have babies and let them sit there, right? I mean, we engage with them, we hold them, we feed them. That connection means something to them. They grow, they blossom, right? They live, they prosper, and that comes from the bonds that are in a family. Not to mention the way it feels. Well, of course, feel good.
Yes, it does. But by the way, just very quickly, the thing that I love about what you just brought is what all of us here as coaches know, is that one of the most important parts of the brain is the limbic system. And the limbic system has no capacity for human language. That's where we have emotions, our love, our passion. It's in the limbic system, and it can't express itself. What you've just sort of brought to the fore here is that the reason we need to connect, for all the reasons you said, really boils down to the fact it's emotion. It's what drives us as human beings to love. It is love because you can't put words to it easily. And that means it is such an important thing to nurture, is that connection, because it is foundational to what we are as humans. And I just love that.
So, Jamie, then how do the parents feel when they have to come to grips with the fact that they're struggling as parents?
Yeah. So that's tough. We all want to live our success, right? Whatever that looks like, and the feeling that we attach to that success, whether it's pride or joy, right? And when a parent has that moment where they realize they're struggling, it could be really disappointing to themselves, right? Because really what's on the table is they're so vulnerable to the fact that they may feel like they have failed or they're failing. And that's heavy, that's really heavy. And it's a moment, when I work with parents and they have that moment and they realize, it's like that, I'm doing it right now. It's like the breath and the shoulders, like they kind of come down. And at that moment, the most important thing, and I'd love to say, where's the camera? Is it right here? The most important thing I want parents to know is that you are not alone, and what you feel is completely normal, and it is felt by so many, and it's actually a gift. It's a gift, because without it, you won't do better. You won't reach further. You'll stay right where you are and nothing will change. And your feelings, okay, hear this too, your feelings do not define who you are or what you're capable of or your limits. So, having said that, while it's a very huge emotional wave, it is a huge relief, because you can now move forward in a whole new way.
That is so important. Jamie, as coaches, we all understand the importance of communication. And what the audience may not know is that Jamie and Liz, myself, and another coach, we have a podcast called Ties That Bind, where we talk about raw topics in real life. And as we go through all these topics, so frequently we see over and over again that so many problems in marriage and relationships are because of communication. And although communication is us expressing ourselves, both in our voice, in our tone of voice, in our body language, it is also listening. And listening, as you pointed out before, is one of those things that we're not really taught how to do well, and we don't. Before this show, we were talking about the fact that there are 3 aspects or 3 levels of listening. Can you tell us first a little bit about what the subjective level of listening is?
Okay, yes. So I'm going to do that, but I think I'm going to make it a little bit easier, because words, labels, right? It's hard for us to remember all that stuff. I'm going to break it down into 3 very easy ways to remember this, okay? There's one form of listening that's all about you as the listener. There's another form of listening that's all about the person that you are listening to, okay? That has a lot of thought going into it, but not as much heart. And then there's a third level of listening that's all about the heart and what's going on underneath the surface, all right?
We love that. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the listening that's looking at us, I guess, first.
There you go. That's the subjective listening. So the subjective listening, that has our agenda behind it, right? Mm-hmm. We are in fix-it mode, right? And you might hear things like, just stop thinking about it, just do it, right? That's coming from subjective listening, right? There's an agenda behind it. It's all based on us as the listener. We're running it through our filters, our experiences, our expectations, right? We are deciding if it's good or bad, right? Throwing a bunch of flavor of judgment on that, right? And
Yes.
this is, let's face it, this is what's called everyday listening, right? It happens automatically on autopilot. Remember, the whole predator-prey thing? We want to make it better, and we want to make it better fast, okay? That doesn't mean there's not love behind it. Of course I want better for anybody I want, but the way we go about it. So that's the first level of listening. Should I proceed, or
Yes,
get started?
sure. Yes, please.
So the second level of listening, that's objective listening. That is about what the other person is saying, right? So the agenda of the person listening has now been removed. The person doesn't run it through their filter of whether it's good or bad, or it makes sense or doesn't make sense, or it's logical or not logical. It's about the other person, right? And you might hear language of someone who's using objective listening saying, wow, that was a big challenge for you, but you did it. Congratulations, right? Because they realized there was something the other person had to overcome. They did it. Great job. Atta-go, attaboy type thing. And this type of listening feels good. Right? It feels better than the subjective listening, right? You could tell someone's caring about you. The third and most powerful listening that I mentioned before, that's all about the heart, okay? That's bringing in the senses. That's being observant, and it might language around someone who's using this type of listening, which is actually called intuitive listening, might sound like this. It sounds like that was a real big struggle for you. And yet, even though it was a struggle for you, and I could see how nervous you were, you overcame it. Wow, right? So I'm talking about what I saw, potentially what they felt, right? And where they arrived. It's more full. And it's very intuitive because it's kind of reading in between the lines. They didn't tell me they were nervous, right? What I saw on them, they didn't tell me. I observed it, right? And then brought it to where they arrived. And it just feels warmer, and you feel seen. You feel praised. And for men, that's their energy. They like to be praised. And for us ladies, that female energy, we like to be seen. And you're really seen there.
So then, as compared to when the parent realizes that they're really struggling to connect to their kids, and that's that wave of awfulness, how does this feel to the parent when they realize that there's a skill that they can have in their back pocket? I'm sure it takes practice, because we all know as coaches, everything takes practice, and that's okay. We need to practice in order to be better. But what do you see as a coach when you're coaching a parent and giving them these tools, and they're practicing them and they're experiencing them, and they're finally hitting number 3, which is intuitive listening, and they have their aha?
Yes. I could hear these parents' hearts smiling. They are so proud of themselves. They feel prepared. They feel confident. They feel empowered. Okay, but when I say empowered, I'm talking, again, like what I said before. They're powered by what's going well, not powered by what's going wrong, right? And the fact that they could give that to the gift of giving, when you give, you get, right? So they give this, and what they get back is just like their child smiling, right? Instead of you see, on your child disappointment, you see happy, like pride. Their child is proud of themselves, and they feel like yes, like pleased with themselves. That whole disappointment and feel of failure, it's not there anymore. They're being powered by what's going well. And they know they can do it again. Just got to get the snowball going just a little bit, right? And the best thing is when you do this with your child, and then one day, your child does it back to you.
Yes.
I mean, get the tissue box, right? Because you hear, when you hear it come back at you, you're like, I'm making a difference.
I did it.
I'm making a difference, right? So, pride.
That's extraordinary. Jamie, this has been an absolutely wonderful discussion, so important for families. What is the one thing that you would like our audience to take away, that singular point that sort of sums the discussion we've had here today?
Yeah, I would say that don't ever feel like you need to fall victim to your circumstances. There is so much that's in your control, and it's just waiting there for you, and you have the ability and the capability to do it and make a difference and make a change. You just have to believe in yourself.
That is amazing. The other aspect here is that we're all about communication. And if you can learn the simple but not straightforward art, the art of communicating well.
And listening, that's the key. So Jamie, thank you so much for being on the show. We loved having you here. Take an opportunity to let the audience know how they can reach out to you.
Yes, thank you. So I can be reached at www.coachtasticnow.com. And you can learn all about what I do and how to get in touch with me. If you'd like to have a conversation, and we can touch base on where you are, and if there's any opportunity that you want to work on something, you can go to the Work With Me page, fill out the contact sheet, and we'll set up a time to talk. Thanks so much.
And you can find that podcast I mentioned on Spotify as well as Anchor, and it's Ties That Bind. And we would love to have you listen to more with Jamie and our other coach, Steve, and Liz and myself. In the meantime, we look forward to seeing you back next week. You can find us at twinlightscoaching.com, or email us with any questions, things you'd like to see on the show, or if you'd like to be a guest at marriagemattershosts.com. Until next week, have a great day.
Bye.